everybody, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some tips and techniques and different tricks that you can do to achieve fine lines and details in your watercolor work using art masking fluid. Now, there are a couple of different methods that we're going to talk about, and I have several different tools off to the side. But the first thing I want to mention is that I am using a toned paper for this video. The reason is, even though we do not work on toned paper for watercolor typically, is because I didn't feel like what I was trying to demonstrate was going to show up very well on a piece of white paper. So I'm going to use the toned tan. This is the Strathmore mixed media paper that I'm using here today. So when you're thinking about masking fluid and trying to get fine lines and details in your watercolor artwork, the first most obvious choice might be to grab a very small detailed brush or script liner brush like this one. The problem with that is that masking fluid is incredibly rough on your brushes, and if you're doing a lot of watercolor work, you may be going through one of these every single week, possibly. From the very first use, your brush will never be the same after using it with masking fluid. And then of course you have to clean the brush, and it becomes all gummed up, and it will change the texture of this brush absolutely. It will destroy it over time. Now, of course, there are tips and tricks that you can implement, like I've heard of artists soaping up the brush before dipping it into the masking fluid, and you can do that, and I've had limited success with that. But the problem is that you're now introducing acids, soaps, oils, and all sorts of other things into this product that was never intended to be there, that could over time alter your artwork, change the color of your paints, or even rot the paper away over time. So I don't recommend that you do that, especially for fine artwork. My preferred method for getting fine lines and details is to use a dip pen. These are used for calligraphy and for inks. I actually have one here that I reserve specifically for this purpose. This is a cheap kind of speedball one. I don't like to use my gold pen for it, but if that's all you had, you absolutely could use that. This is the method that I will be demonstrating in this video today. They also make some of these color shapers. These are a silicone tipped product that you can just use the mask fluid on there. They're useful for a lot of art applications, but you can dip it in the masking fluid, and then you can apply it that way. And they make them in a variety of sizes, as you can see. But the problem is that they're rounded at the tip, and even the smallest one is still somewhat large. But I have had limited success with those as well. They are an option. Up until recently, my preferred tool was actually this Real Techniques Silicone Fine Eyeliner brush. This is for makeup, for eyeliner, but this has a very tiny tip on it, very precise, and when you're done using it, you let the masking fluid dry on there and you can just peel it right away. Same thing with the dip pen. But the advantage of the dip pen, and why it really is my favorite, is that it will provide you with a little well and a constant stream of that mask fluid. It will be feeding the fluid down through the tip, so you have to dip it into the masking fluid far less often. Now, I know that Daniel Smith makes a kind of like a needle-tipped bottle of mask fluid with different tips on it that you can use to get your mask fluid lines that way. However, and I will review that product. I'm thinking of getting it and reviewing it on the channel, so let me know if you guys are interested. But I have heard a lot of my artist friends tell me that they don't trust the Daniel Smith masking fluid, that it has a tendency to rip the paper. I cannot confirm or deny that, but it is something that I'd like for you to be aware of. You can also use a toothpick on the cheap end of things. If this is all you had in a pinch, it may work. But unlike some of these other methods, it's really not the best method, and you're going to be dipping it in quite a bit. It's not going to hold any of the mask fluid, but in a pinch, if it's all you had, you could get it to work. And then these stylus kind of tools here. These are used for like embossing and crafting and a lot of other purposes, but for little dashes and dots and different effects you can get with these. And with the most fine tip, I have had some success using these for masking fluid as well, for veining and little leaves and things. So I'm going to zoom you guys down in just a moment, and I'm going to demonstrate my favorite method out of all of these, which is the dip pen. Alright, so I've got my bottle of masking fluid here, and I'm just going to dip into this with my pen just as if it was ink. In the exact same way, I'm going to load it up, and you can just, hopefully you'll be able to see this on camera, you could just see how fine of a line that you can get with that. Now, one thing to keep in mind, especially if you're working on a nice cotton paper, is that you don't want to push too hard, because you don't want to start scrying, you know, that into the paper and damaging it. You know what I'm saying? So do keep that in mind. You've got a nice little well, and you can continue to just get some nice lines. I really like the Winsor & Newton masking fluid. It's my favorite, and I trust it. But their masking fluid is very good. I've left it on projects for as long as a couple of weeks, and it's not ever damaged my paper in any way, shape, or form. I've had really good success with the Winsor & Newton. And that masking fluid, I'm not even going to, you could rinse it off if you wanted. I'm just going to leave it there. I'm just going to let it dry and then peel it off. Alright, so I just washed over those lines with just some random colors of watercolor that I happen to have on my palette. The color really doesn't matter. And I've allowed that to dry completely. And now I'm just going to come in and remove the mask fluid, which, because the mask fluid is basically the same color as the paper, this isn't a big reveal here or anything. You wouldn't even be able to tell I just removed that, but I really wanted to do this on toned paper because I felt like the white paper, it wouldn't show up very well. But you can see that I was able to get some very fine lines. This technique is very helpful in fur, feathers, little grasses, any place where you might need a fine line. Different dip pens, you know, different size tips will give you different lines, different results. I really like this silicone fine eyeliner brush from Real Techniques. It has a very tiny little tip on it, and I can go more up on the tip and get really tiny little lines, or I can, you know, go on the side a little bit more, push a little bit harder, and I can get a thicker, fatter line. So this really is a nice, versatile tool, and it's not very expensive. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, don't forget to leave them in the comment section down below. I'm always happy to answer any questions that you might have. I want to apologize for my my hand, my Phantom of the Opera hand. I have hand eczema, and it acts up occasionally, so I just wanted to mention that. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you got value from this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!